I wasn't invited to my sister's wedding. Not because of space or money, but because I had warned her about the man she was marrying. Instead of begging for a seat at a table I had helped set my whole life, I booked myself a royal suite in Dubai. While she tossed flowers at a bar and her groom disappeared, I sipped champagne by the sea. My mom texted me, "You've always been the fixer. Fix this." But for once I didn't. I let them sit with the weight of my absence. And honestly, that choice changed everything. It all started with a text message. "Hey sis, guest list is finalized. Had to make some tough cuts. Hope you understand. Love you." I must have read it 3 times before I believed it. Tough cuts? Hope you understand? I wasn't a coworker from her first job or some friend from prom night. I was her only sister, the one who picked her up, again and again, every time life broke her. For a moment I convinced myself it was a mistake. That she'd call, laugh about it, tell me she meant to type "can't wait to see you." But the call never came. Only silence. And then I did what I shouldn't have. I opened Instagram. There she was, smiling in a boutique mirror, blonde curls perfect, champagne in hand, captioned, "Said yes to the dress with my 200 favorite people." 200. And not me. My hands went weak, phone almost slipping. My chest caught between a laugh and a sob. This wasn't an oversight. It was deliberate. I dialed Mom. She picked up with that cheerful voice that meant she already knew. "Sweetheart, don't make this bigger than it is," she said. Not bigger than it is. My own sister had cut me out of her wedding, and my mom wanted me to swallow it like I always had. "Mom, I'm her sister. How am I not on the guest list?" She sighed. "Honey, it's just one day. You're overreacting." That word overreacting had followed me my whole life. Whenever I dared to want something for myself, whenever I refused to silently absorb the disappointment, they used it to shrink me back down. And in that moment, something inside me broke. Quietly. Finally. I knew the pattern. I'd cry, they'd dismiss, and I'd end up smoothing things over because I was the responsible one. But not this time. I hung up. No goodbye. No second chances. And for the first time I didn't cry. What I felt wasn't anger or heartbreak, it was clarity. So I did something I'd never done before. I opened a travel app and started searching. Luxury getaways. Burj Al Arab, Dubai. 7 stars. Royal suite. A place where nobody expected me to fix anything. Without overthinking, I texted my boyfriend Noah. "Want to disappear with me for a week?" His reply came fast. "Thought you'd never ask." That was the first real smile I'd had all day. If they didn't think I deserved to be part of their perfect little story, I'd write my own. The next evening I told Noah everything. From Brielle's text to the call with Mom, all the way to booking 2 first-class tickets out of sheer defiance. He really listened. And when I finally stopped talking, he said, "Harper, when was the last time you did something just for you? Not for work. Not for them. Just for you." I couldn't answer. And he knew it. So when he said, "Then let's go. Let her walk down that aisle without the one person who actually mattered," I realized he was right. This wasn't revenge. It was survival. That night, as I packed my suitcase, my mom's text came through. Then Brielle's. Guilt disguised as love. Emojis pretending to be apologies. I set my phone on Do Not Disturb and kept folding clothes. For once, I didn't rush to fix the damage. By morning, Noah and I were on the road to the airport. I didn't even look back. Somewhere between the skyline fading and the plane taking off, I felt it a strange calm. Like I was finally stepping into a life that was mine. And that's how choosing not to show up turned out to be the best thing I ever did. When we got to the airport, everything felt like it was moving in slow motion, but the kind of slow that makes you want to savor it. The check-in agent smiled at me and said, "Miss Quinn," like I was somebody important. No lines at security. No waiting around. Just a direct path to a lounge where the champagne was cold, the fruit was fresh, and the chairs were so soft I nearly disappeared into one. When it was time to board, our seats were wide and private, windows stretching long across the sky. Noah sat next to me, slipped his hand into mine, and I didn't even think twice before holding on. The flight attendant offered drinks before we even took off, and Noah raised his glass with that little grin of his. To making our own guest list. I laughed louder than I expected. To not showing up where we're not wanted. As the plane lifted, I snapped a photo for Instagram. Our legs stretched out, champagne glasses in hand, a slice of sky in the corner. I typed slowly, savoring the words. Cut from the guest list, upgraded to the royal suite. No tags. No mentions. I didn't need to. I knew exactly who would see it. Then I put my phone away, leaned back, and let the hum of the engines wrap me in a silence that for once felt like freedom, not loneliness. We landed just after sunset. The sky outside was painted lavender and gold, and the city of Dubai sparkled like a jeweled necklace spread across the earth. As we taxied, a flight attendant leaned in and said softly, "Your car is waiting on the tarmac, Miss Quinn. Rolls-Royce as requested." I glanced at Noah. He shrugged like it was nothing, but the sparkle in his eyes gave him away. Walking off the plane into that warm desert night felt unreal. The air hugged me like silk. At the bottom of the stairs, a black Rolls-Royce with gold trim was waiting, driver in uniform holding a card with our names. Inside smelled of leather and jasmine, water bottles chilling between us in a crystal tray. I pressed my forehead against the glass as the city flashed by minarets, skyscrapers, curved towers glowing in the last light of day. My chest tightened with disbelief. "You okay?" Noah asked, sliding his hand into mine. I nodded, whispering, "Just trying to believe this is real." He squeezed my fingers gently. "It is. And you deserve every bit of it." And then came the Burj Al Arab, rising from the coastline like something out of a dream, glowing with light and elegance. Inside, they greeted us by name, offered cold towels, sparkling drinks, and smiles like we'd been expected all along. Before I could even catch my breath at the gold pillars, marble floors, and aquariums taller than houses, we were escorted to the royal suite. A whole private floor. A spiral staircase. Velvet chairs. Gold trim on the walls. Windows taller than I'd ever seen, showing the Arabian Gulf glittering under the moon. And in the corner, a grand piano under a chandelier. I pressed my palm against the glass, looking out at the dark water. It felt like touching a whole new life. Dinner was at Al Mahara, an underwater restaurant where the walls were glass, and schools of fish floated around us while candles flickered on the table. Noah ordered the chef's tasting menu. I picked a wine I couldn't pronounce. For the first few minutes, we didn't even speak. The food, the beauty, the strangeness of it all left us speechless. But then my guard slipped. You know what's weird? I set my fork down. I keep waiting for a text. From Mom. From someone. But they're not coming, are they? Noah didn't interrupt. Just listened. They probably think I'm sulking in my apartment, I went on. Waiting for crumbs of attention. He took a sip of wine. They probably don't even realize you're gone yet. His words stung, but I knew he was right. I used to think staying quiet was strength. If I stayed calm enough, didn't complain, maybe they'd finally see me. Appreciate me. I looked down at my napkin. But all it did was make me easy to erase. Noah leaned closer, voice gentle. Some people mistake being easygoing for being invisible. I swallowed hard. I think I was afraid to take up space. Afraid that asking for more meant getting less. So I settled. Over and over. And now? He asked. Now I'm sitting in a 7-star hotel, with someone who actually sees me. And for the first time, I don't feel like I have to earn it. You don't, he said firmly. You never did. The tears came quiet, not sobs, just the kind that sting and soften at the same time. Noah reached across the table and held my hand. This isn't a consolation prize, Harper. This is your life. Yours. Later, walking on the private beach, sand cool under my feet, the hotel glowing behind us in pink and gold, I finally felt it. Not like a guest in someone else's story, but like the headline of my own. The morning of the wedding came quietly. I woke to sunlight spilling through sheer curtains, the sound of waves, and Noah setting a cappuccino beside me with that lazy grin of his. For a few moments I forgot what day it was. Then my phone lit up with a single message from Mom. Still time to change your mind. I stared at it, let the silence sit heavy, and then locked my screen. No reply. Not a single check-in all week. Not a single. How are you? Just that last push to play the role I'd always been cast in, the peacemaker, the placeholder, the sister who never says no. Not anymore. That evening, Noah surprised me with a yacht at sunset. No crowd, no noise. Just the sea stretching wide and endless, the sky melting from gold to violet. I stood at the railing, Prosecco in hand, hair whipping in the wind, breathing in a freedom I never thought I'd taste. Inside, my phone lit up with pictures from the wedding, Betrayal in her dress, the vineyard backdrop, mason jars and fairy lights. Picture perfect but missing the truth. I posted my own photo instead. The horizon, the water, a sliver of my hand holding a glass. Caption: wishing peace to everyone back home. And then I closed the app. Dinner was served on the deck under swaying lanterns, orchids on the table, silver cutlery gleaming. I wore the black satin dress I'd packed last minute, the one that always makes me feel a little dangerous. Noah wore a blazer, no tie. We looked like people with nothing left to prove. After dessert, we kicked our shoes off and danced barefoot under the stars. No music, just the ocean and the hum of the city in the distance. His arms around me, my eyes closed, and for once the weight was gone. I didn't just feel free. It felt like me. When we got back to the suite that night, all I wanted was sleep. I washed my face, threw my hair into a messy knot, and slid under the covers, ready to pass out for at least 10 hours. But my body had other plans. At 1 a.m. my phone started buzzing. Once. Then again. And again. Mom. Betrayal. Tessa. Then Mom again. I ignored the first few, but by the fifth call my chest felt tight, like my body knew something my brain didn't. 5 missed calls. 2 voicemails. 14 texts. My pulse jumped. Noah stirred beside me. "Everything okay?" he mumbled. "I don't know," I whispered, scrolling through notifications. "Mom, call me now. Emergency. Tessa, Harper, please. It's bad. Call me back. Betrayal, I need you." That last one stopped me cold. Betrayal, my sister who had cut me out of her wedding like I was disposable, suddenly needed me. For a second, my instinct kicked in, the reflex I've had my whole life. Fix it, show up, carry the weight. But this time I didn't move. If their world was falling apart, I wasn't about to be their quick fix. Not after the way they tossed me aside. Noah reached for my hand. His voice was calm, grounding. "Whatever it is, it's not your responsibility." I nodded, but the phone buzzed again. I couldn't breathe in that room anymore, so I got up and walked barefoot to the balcony. The night air wrapped around me, warm and steady. The city glowed in the distance, the ocean whispered below, and I let myself feel the peace of being exactly where I chose to be. Inside, the phone kept vibrating like a heartbeat I didn't want to claim. Finally, curiosity won. I picked it up and hit play on the first voicemail. It was Tessa, whispering in a panic. "Harper. Oh my God, you won't believe this. Chase is gone. He literally walked out. No warning. He and Betrayal fought right after cocktail hour, and then he just left. Got in a car and disappeared." I froze, clutching the phone tighter. She kept talking, her words tumbling over each other. Betrayal lost it. She threw her bouquet, screamed at the photographer, cussed out the bridesmaids. Guests started leaving. Dad and Uncle Dean ended up in a screaming match. And then Grandma said, "Harper, I swear I'm not making this up," she said. She invited the whole world except the one person who kept this family together, and now it's all in ruins. I sat down slowly, stunned. Tessa's voice softened. "I'm not saying it's your fault, Harper. I'm just saying, maybe she finally sees what happens when she pushes out the one person who always held her down." The next message was Mom. Sharp. Clipped. "Harper, I don't know what you're trying to prove, but this isn't the time. Your sister is devastated. This family needs to pull together right now." Of course. Suddenly, when it all fell apart, I mattered again. The last voicemail was Betrayal. Her voice cracked like glass. "Harper. I messed up. I thought I could handle it, thought Chase and I were fine. But he's gone. Everyone's staring at me like I set the place on fire. I need you. Please." Then silence. I stared at the phone, heavy in my hand, while Noah sat up beside me. "What happened?" "Chase walked out of the wedding," I said quietly. He blinked. "Wait, during the wedding?" "Yeah. After cocktail hour. Didn't even make it to the reception." "Wow." He dragged a hand through his hair, shaking his head. I moved back to the window, staring at the glittering skyline. I thought I'd feel smug, vindicated, but instead I just felt detached. Like I was watching a movie I already knew the ending to. Noah slipped behind me, his hands resting on my shoulders. "Are they asking you to come back?" Of course they are. Mom's preaching about family. Tessa's panicking. Brielle's begging. And what do you want? Nothing, I said simply. You sure? I nodded. They didn't want me there when it was picture perfect. They don't get me now that it's burning down. He nodded slowly. That's fair. I walked over to the minibar, poured a glass of cold water and sat down with my phone. My fingers hovered before I typed 3 short replies. To Tessa, thanks for being honest. I appreciate it. To Mom, I'm not coming back. Handle this yourselves. To Brielle, you cut me out when it was easy. Don't call me now that it's not. One by one I hit send. No rush of satisfaction. No thrill, just a calm, steady sense of closure. Then I powered off the phone, set it aside and slid back under the covers. Noah opened his arms without a word, and I melted into him. You okay? He murmured. I think so, I whispered. Tomorrow, he said. We'll ride camels through the desert and drink mint tea under the stars. I smiled into his chest. Deal. The next morning, I woke up to the sweetest smell drifting through the room, cardamom and honey. Noah had ordered breakfast, and the tray sat by the balcony, sunlight spilling across the floor in golden stripes. I stretched under the sheets, bracing myself for that old sting of guilt I used to feel whenever something back home went wrong. But it never came. Instead, I reached for the mint tea, still steaming in its little pot, and poured myself a cup. I sat on the edge of the bed, holding it close, letting the warmth hit my face while the room stayed perfectly still. For a moment it was just peace. Then my phone buzzed. I'd only turned it on to double-check our desert tour, but the messages came flooding in, heavier than before. Mom, your sister hasn't eaten, she won't stop crying, we need you. Brielle, please call me, I was wrong, I messed everything up. I just stared at the screen, thumb hovering. The old me would have answered right away, always ready to calm everyone else down, even if the fire wasn't mine to put out. Always bending myself into whatever shape kept the peace. But this time I didn't want to bend anymore. I switched it back to airplane mode and set it aside. Noah stepped out of the bathroom, hair still damp, towel around his shoulders. You okay? He asked, and I looked from him to the ocean outside. They want me to fix it again. He crossed the room, knelt in front of me, hands soft on my knees. You don't have to set yourself on fire just to keep them warm. My throat tightened. I nodded because deep down I knew he was right. I'd been holding on to this hope that if I kept quiet, if I kept showing up, maybe one day they'd finally see me. But maybe the truth was they only noticed me when things went wrong. They only loved me when I was useful. Noah kissed my knuckles. That's not love, Harper. That's convenience. I held his gaze for a long time, then picked up my phone again. I typed one message to Mom. I'm not going to fix what I didn't break. And I hit send. No waiting for the 3 dots, no bracing for a reply. Just done. I walked over to the window and pulled the curtains wide open. The sky was impossibly blue, like none of the mess behind me even existed. Noah slipped his arms around my waist, and we stood there watching the waves together. I'm done being the family fire extinguisher, I whispered. I'm not their backup plan anymore. I'm not their cleanup crew. Then let them burn, he said against my shoulder. You're not a firefighter. I laughed, small, shaky but real. It was the first time anyone had spoken it out loud. The first time I actually believed it. We dressed slowly, like we weren't in a hurry for once. I slipped on a linen dress, sandals. He rolled up the sleeves of his white shirt. The Jeep was waiting outside, the driver kind and quiet, handing us bottled water and dates. As the city faded in the rearview, the desert stretched out like an endless ocean of gold. By the time we reached the dunes, it felt like the world had been scrubbed clean. We rode camels, their steps steady and soft, the horizon swallowing everything we'd left behind. At the top of one ridge, the guide motioned for us to look. Sand in every direction. Infinite. Noah took my hand. Do you feel it? Feel what? Your own weight. Not anyone else's. I breathed in deep, the hot wind whipping my hair, the sun warming my shoulders. Yeah, I do. We stayed there until the shadows grew long across the sand, and for the first time in forever the past felt far away. I didn't miss it. Not even a little. That night back in the suite I couldn't sleep. Not from jet lag, not from heat, Not because of Noah, he was already asleep, breathing easy beside me. It was something else. A memory pressing at me. Heavier now that the chaos was gone and I finally had space to feel it. 1 month earlier, I'd been at my office, rushing through a client portfolio when an email landed in my personal inbox. No subject line. No name I recognized. Just a message that made my stomach drop. Chase Finley. You might want to look at what he left behind in Austin. Not just X's SEC records too. There were links. Screenshots. PDF. I opened it, read it once, twice, 3 times. Every line worse than the last. It wasn't some blog or gossip thread, it was a public investigation file. Chase had been flagged for manipulating investor statements at a finance firm in Texas. He hadn't been charged, but the red flags were everywhere. His signature on memos. Gaps in his work history lining up perfectly with the timeline. At first I thought maybe it was a mistake, maybe a different Chase. But it wasn't. It was him. I didn't want to be the one to bring it up. But how could I stay quiet? I called Mom. I remember exactly what I said. I just want Brielle to know who she's marrying. She sighed like I just ruined her manicure. Harper, please. Don't go digging for drama. If something was really wrong, wouldn't he be the one to say it? That's what I asked her. I even told her I had proof documents, screenshots, everything, and offered to send them over. She didn't even hesitate. I don't want to see it, she said. And if you tell your sister, you'll ruin everything. I told her I couldn't just sit on this. That Brielle had the right to know. And that's when she said something I'll never forget. Don't make this about you. You're not the bride. Don't ruin her big day just because you're uncomfortable with her being happy. I hung up after that. Walked loops around my block until the sky went dark. I never hit send on the email to Brielle, but I did text her. Told her I needed to talk. That it was about Chase. She didn't reply. Instead, she blocked me. 3 days of silence. No questions. No curiosity. Just a clean cut like I didn't exist. When she finally unblocked me, she didn't ask a thing. No, what did you want to tell me? No, are you okay? Just one line. Guest list is finalized. Hope you understand. At the time I thought it was just tension. A fight that would fade. I pictured myself sitting in a row of white chairs under twinkling lights, watching my little sister say, I do. But later, when everything unraveled, the truth hit harder. I wasn't left out by accident. I was cut out on purpose. I was the only one who refused to play along. The only one who wouldn't plaster on a smile and pretend the cracks weren't there. They didn't want me messing with their perfect picture. So they painted me out. That night, lying in bed, I stared at the ceiling, caught between anger and a strange, bitter kind of clarity. They wanted the fairy tale. Brielle finds love, Chase is charming, the wedding is flawless. And me? I didn't fit. I slipped out to the terrace, the warm Gulf air wrapping around me while the sea stretched out calm and dark. Behind me, the sweet glowed with soft golden light. And I thought about all the times I swallowed my instincts to keep the peace. Every birthday I planned, every favor I said yes to, every lie I let pass with a smile that hurt my jaw. And then I thought about that email, the truth I was told to bury, and how my punishment for trying was exile. A few minutes later, Noah stepped out, draped a throw over my shoulders, and asked, You okay? I nodded, then whispered, Remember that email I mentioned about Chase? It was real. He's under SEC investigation. I told Mom, she shut me down. I tried to warn Brielle, she blocked me. Noah leaned on the railing, his face unreadable. So they knew, and still went through with it? I shook my head. I don't think Brielle ever saw the files. I think Mom made sure she didn't. And now Chase is gone, and they're looking at me like I was supposed to stop it. Noah's jaw tightened. They pushed you out because you were the only one who wouldn't lie for them. Now they're drowning in the mess they made. I pulled the blanket tighter. For so long I thought being left out meant I didn't matter. But maybe it meant I was the only one who did. Noah didn't say a word after that. He just pulled me into him. And for once, silence didn't feel like rejection. Felt like peace. The next afternoon, the Dubai sun spilled gold over every stone and wall as Noah and I wandered through the historic Al Fahidi district. Narrow alleys, shaded courtyards, the smell of cardamom and rosewater drifting out of cafes. It felt like time slowed down. While Noah argued playfully with a spice vendor about saffron, I slipped into a tiny artisan shop filled with jewelry and ceramics. My eyes landed on a bracelet, thin gold links with a single moonstone at the center. It was simple, quiet, intentional, and something about it stopped me in my tracks. I held it in my palm, and immediately the old voice in my head kicked in. Do you really need this? Is it responsible? I almost set it down. But then I caught my reflection in the glass, my face soft from the sun, worry lines gone. For the first time in years, I looked like a woman who didn't owe anyone anything. Noah walked in carrying a pouch of spices and noticed. You like it? I shrugged. Yeah, but it feels like a lot for one thing. He smiled knowingly. That usually means you're trying to talk yourself out of it. Look, your whole life you've given. You've written checks for people who forgot your birthday. Dropped everything to fix problems that weren't yours. If this is something you want, and it's for you, then it's not too much. I looked down at the bracelet again, then back at him. He was right. I'd never bought something just for me, not without guilt tagging along. So I nodded. I'll take it. The shopkeeper wrapped it carefully in silk and tucked it into a pouch. I paid in cash and slid it into my bag like a secret. As we stepped back out into the sun, I caught my reflection in a cafe window. Hair pulled back, eyes bright, a tiny smile on my lips. For the first time in a long time, I didn't recognize the tired, depleted version of me I'd gotten so used to seeing. And it made me think of every time I'd given pieces of myself to Betrayal without hesitation. Like the summer she lost her job and I quietly paid 3 months' rent out of my own emergency fund. $2,400 gone without a word. This time, though, I chose me. There was that one semester she failed and begged me not to breathe a word. I paid the $3,200 tuition, so she wouldn't have to explain why she couldn't register again. Then came the car troubles, $1,100 for the engine, $600 for new tires, grocery runs, surprise bills, rescue after rescue. Over 5 years, it added up to more than $12,000. And not once did I see a dollar back. Not even a real thank you. Not even a moment of acknowledgement. I never asked for applause, but deep down a small part of me hoped. Instead, she blocked me out. Cut me off. Erased me from her wedding guest list like I was just an expense she didn't want to explain. I reached into my bag and slipped the bracelet onto my wrist. At first, the metal felt cool, then slowly warmed against my skin. Noah glanced over and smiled. Looks right on you. The moonstone caught a streak of sunlight, and I whispered, it doesn't feel like a splurge. It feels like balance. We found a shaded bench under a fig tree and just sat, watching the light shift across the pavement. A little girl laughed as she chased a paper fan through the square. A couple walked by, fingers laced, speaking softly in French. I turned to Noah. You know, I always thought I was selfish for getting tired of giving. He didn't say a word, just waited. But I don't think I'm selfish. I think I just never really lived for myself. He reached for my hand, let our fingers rest together, and for the first time in forever, I didn't feel like some shadow in the background of someone else's story. Felt like me, whole, finally choosing myself. By the time we made it back to the suite, the city was slowing down. Twilight stretched across the skyline, turning glass towers golden. I changed into a soft robe, slipped off my sandals, and finally turned my phone back on. Seconds later, buzz, 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 buzz. 43 missed calls. Dozens of texts. For voicemails. I didn't rush to open them. I just stared at the screen like it belonged to a past version of me, the one who always picked up, always fixed things. Noah walked in with 2 glasses of mint tea. That bad? I turned the screen toward him. He gave a low whistle, handed me a glass. I took a sip, the sweetness grounding me, and opened the first voicemail. It was Mom. Her voice flat but urgent. Harper, your silence is making things worse. Brielle's not eating, she's barely speaking. You don't get to abandon us now. You always held this family together. You always fixed it. So fix it. I let it in, thumb hovering over delete. Not yet. The second was Tessa. I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I recorded something. Grandma was talking to Mom in the kitchen. You need to hear it. Then the audio came through. Dishes clinking and Grandma's voice sharp and clear. You know what the real tragedy is? That girl held this family together for years. She paid for things no one talks about. She showed up when no one else did. And when she finally told the truth about Chase, what did you all do? You punished her. You shut her out. You protected the fantasy. If you'd invited her, maybe this wedding wouldn't have fallen apart. The recording stopped. My tea had gone cold in my hands. For years I wondered if anyone actually saw the weight I carried, the quiet ways I kept everything standing. That one sentence felt like a key turning in a lock I didn't even realize I'd kept closed. Noah sat beside me. That was real, huh? Yeah, I whispered. That was real. The last voicemail was Betrayal. Her voice cracked raw with tears. Harper, I can't do this without you. I know I messed everything up. I thought I could handle it, thought you'd always be there if it got bad. Please, I just need my sister. Please call me. My chest tightened, but not with guilt this time. With clarity. I thought of all the nights I picked up without hesitation, all the chaos I quietly solved, every time I stepped in while they stepped back. I used to think that was love. But now I knew better. I opened Mom's latest text. You're being selfish. Your sister needs you. I took a slow breath and typed back. I'm in a place where things are still okay without me. That tells me everything. I'm not coming back to fix what I didn't break. Send. Then I opened Betrayal's message. My fingers moved without pause. You only reach for me when it all collapses. That's not love, that's need. I'm done being the emergency exit. Send. I shut the phone off again, not from anger, not from sadness, from peace. Noah stood and offered his hand. Come on. Late night hammam. Steam, warm oils, no notifications. I smiled, took his hand, and let myself walk toward something that wasn't about fixing or saving. I didn't know what my family would do next, spin more stories, finally face the truth, maybe even grow. But one thing was certain. I wasn't going to be the one running into the fire anymore. The next morning, the sun rose over the gulf, painting the horizon amber. I stood barefoot on the marble floor of our suite, coffee warming my hands, the world outside already humming while inside. Everything was still. No tension in my stomach. No emergencies waiting on the other end of a call. Just quiet. Noah stirred under the linen sheets, mumbling something about coffee refills. I smiled, set my mug down by my laptop, and pulled up our flight reservation. Friday, 8 a.m. Emirates. It felt too soon, like it belonged to the old me. I clicked change flight. Added a week. Upgraded the suite. Ocean view, spa access, late checkout. If I was rewriting everything, I wanted to do it with both feet out of the past. The confirmation pinged. Noah kissed the side of my head. That the sound of freedom? I grinned. More like permission. Then I opened my banking app, scrolled to the shared account I'd opened with Mom years ago, a flex fund. We once called it. At first it was for emergencies. Dad's hospital bills. Betrayal's totaled car. But over time it became something else. Quiet withdrawals. Vacations. Deposits for things I never agreed to. Always my balance. Always silence in return. I clicked manage access. Removed her name. The screen asked if I was sure. I was. Her name disappeared. Noah walked in with a towel around his shoulders. You okay? I smiled. Yeah. I just closed a door I should have shut a long time ago. Next I opened Facebook. Then Instagram. Then every platform that had once connected me to a digital version of the family. That had learned to treat me like a support beam instead of a person. Mom block. Betrayal block. Tessa. Hesitation, then block. Aunt Leslie, Uncle Rob, Cousin Drew. All of them, one by one, the invisible threads snapped, not out of spite but clarity. I had spent so many years being accessible to people who only remembered me when they needed something fixed. That version of me didn't live here anymore. I sat back and looked out the window. The sun had risen fully now, casting long shadows across the water. The sea sparkled. Like it had secrets I no longer needed to solve. Noah joined me at the small table, a second coffee in his hand. How does it feel? He asked. I looked at him, then down at my phone, which was finally quiet. Like, I finally unpacked a bag I didn't know I was carrying. He nodded, eyes studying me for a long moment. Do you regret it? I shook my head. I don't regret choosing peace. I regret waiting so long to believe I deserved it. He reached across the table and took my hand. You've always deserved it. We spent the afternoon walking along the boardwalk by the marina, watching luxury yachts drift by like lazy clouds. We ate lunch at a Lebanese cafe tucked between high rises, shared mezza and pistachio ice cream, and talked about everything except the people we had left behind. When we returned to the suite later that evening, I lay on the couch, exhausted in the best way, not drained, not emotionally depleted, just content. I glanced at my phone again, now resting face down on the nightstand, no new messages, and it didn't matter. I opened my journal instead, one I had barely touched during the trip, and began to write. Not about the drama, not about the betrayal. I wrote about what I wanted. To sleep without the dread of obligation, to wake up and not have to prove my worth through sacrifice, to give only when it came from joy, not duty. I wrote until the page was full, then I closed the book, slid it into the drawer, and walked barefoot out to the balcony. The city was lighting up again, golden and silver across the skyline. The call to prayer echoed faintly in the distance. Noah stepped beside me, his arm brushing mine. "You really okay?" I turned to him, and for once I didn't have to fake the answer. "I'm more than okay, I'm free." And that, I had learned, was worth everything. The wind that night was softer than usual, curling off the gulf with a kind of quiet gentleness I hadn't noticed before. From the balcony, the city stretched in every direction, glittering under the stars, humming in a language of its own. I sat in the robe I'd been living in for days, legs tucked beneath me, notebook open on my lap. The last page I had written ended with a truth I never imagined I'd claim. I was free. My phone vibrated once beside me. I almost didn't pick it up, but habit made me turn it over. A single email from Betrayal. The subject line was blank. I opened it anyway. "Harper, I don't know if you'll ever read this, but I needed to send it. You were right about Chase, about the wedding, about me. Everything I built for that day was never about love, it was about proving something. That I had it together, that I could be the successful one for once, that I could stand without leaning on you. But the truth is, I wasn't standing, I was performing, and I cut out the only person who ever truly showed up for me. I did that. I don't think I can fix any of it now. And maybe I don't deserve to. But I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I'm sorry I made you carry it all. I'm sorry I made you invisible, and I hope wherever you are, you're doing what you should have been allowed to do. All along, live for yourself. Betrayal." I read it once, then again. Didn't make me cry. It didn't crack me open the way I might have expected. It made me feel something far more subtle. Like closing a book I had kept open for too long, waiting for a different ending. She hadn't asked for anything. Not forgiveness, not reconciliation, just a recognition of what she had done. And for that, I felt something close to peace. I didn't respond, not yet. Maybe not ever. Some silences deserve to remain intact. Later that evening, after dinner, I received a text from Aunt Carol. "Hey sweetheart, no pressure, but we're hosting a small Thanksgiving dinner. Just a few of us, no drama, I promise. You and Noah are welcome if you're free. There's always a chair for you here." I smiled at the screen, warmth blooming in my chest. I hadn't thought much about Thanksgiving. Normally it meant obligation, tension, polite smiles, and half-truths over turkey. But this invitation felt different, no agenda, no expectations, just an open door. Maybe we'd go, maybe we wouldn't, but the idea of being wanted without being needed felt rare and beautiful. Noah and I took a walk on the private beach. Below the resort, the sand was cool beneath our feet, and the sound of the waves was steady, like a lullaby that had no end. We didn't speak much, just walked. The stars above the gulf felt brighter than the ones back home. Or maybe I was just noticing them for the first time. Eventually we sat down on a bench carved into the stone path along the edge of the water. I pulled my journal out of my bag and opened to a fresh page. I sat with the pen poised, unsure of what I wanted to say, then I wrote. I didn't lose my family, I just stopped shrinking myself to hold them together. I didn't disappear, I stepped back and let them see what absence actually feels like. I wasn't the one who broke anything. I was just the one who stopped pretending nothing was broken. I closed the notebook slowly and let the wind lift the ends of my hair. Noah looked over at me, his arm resting behind me on the bench. "What are you writing now?" "Just a reminder," I said, "that sometimes walking away isn't about giving up. It's about coming home to yourself." He nodded and leaned in closer. "And does it feel like home?" I looked out at the sea, endless and calm. "Yeah, it does." The waves whispered at the shore, and the lights of the city blinked in rhythm, as if agreeing with everything I had just written. I didn't need to go back, I didn't need another chance to prove my worth. I had already given enough. And for once it was enough for me. Thank you for listening to my story. If you've ever felt like a background character in your own family, I want you to know you're not alone. Share your experience in the comments. I'd love to hear it. And if this story resonated with you, make sure to subscribe for more real-life stories like this one. Sometimes the deepest wounds don't come from strangers, but from the people we call family. I drove all that way for love, but what I found was rejection. And even though it broke me, I walked away knowing I deserved better.